Hi guys, my name is Jacob Coleshaw and I run WD18, the Watford Fan Channel, here to give you the Watford perspective ahead of Tottenham's game versus Watford this coming Wednesday at Wembley Stadium. So getting straight into it, how do I see the game panning out this coming Wednesday? Now, I'll be honest, I'm quietly confident. I'm quietly confident that we can maybe come away with a point. If not all three, I think that's probably a little bit too optimistic. If I'm being honest, I'm trying to take it from a Watford stance, but I do expect Spurs to be the favourites. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, can we maybe pull off a shock victory? It is a tough game for Spurs, no doubt. We're obviously sitting 7th at the minute. We're currently the best of the rest and the top of the Everton Cup. So if there's maybe one team at the moment that you wouldn't want to be playing outside of the top 6, I think it would either be Watford or Wolves. Probably the advantage, which I'll come on to later in the previews about playing at Wembley. Will that be, well, obviously Spurs are quite comfortable at Wembley now. Will that be a decisive factor? Big occasion for Watford and for Watford fans. We'll have to wait and see. But we're not on a bad run at the moment. The last time we lost was on Boxing Day at home to Chelsea, where I actually thought we played pretty well. But since then, we've been on a really good run, unbeaten. Since then, draws against Newcastle, Bournemouth, a win against Palace, and a draw against Burnley. Burnley was a bit disappointing, but we're not losing, and we're keeping our unbeaten run going. Now, setting aside the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup for the time being, I did watch your guys' game against Fulham at Craven Cottage, which I didn't think you guys played particularly well in, but Fulham definitely did turn up and would be disappointed to lose that. But a sign of a good team is to win when playing poorly, and obviously Harry Winks popping up in the last minute to nod home. A brilliant result for Spurs. I did watch your game against Manchester United. Obviously, David De Gea had a stormer. But maybe the one result that sticks out for me, out of the games that obviously Spurs lost this season, well, obviously the game at home to Watford, but also the away game against the home game against Wolves, where Wolves came to Wembley, played on the break, and really exposed Tottenham's backline. I think we need to take confidence from that and use those sort of tactics that Nuno Espirito Santos adopted on that day, because it was very, very, very effective. Spurs have had a bad week in the last week or so. What have I made of it? And is it a good time to play Tottenham now? I think it is a good time to play Tottenham now, particularly, obviously, exiting the Carabao Cup, leaving the FA Cup, which is the big scalp, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on. So from Watford's perspective, it is definitely a very good time to play Spurs. Going out the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, top 4 has to be our priority for all Spurs fans. So I can see you guys putting out the strongest 11 possible. But with the likes of Dele Alli and Harry Kane injured, there's not really a better time to play Spurs. I don't like players to be injured at all, but from Watford's point of view, you know, it gives us a real good chance to maybe get something this coming Wednesday. So, is it a good time to play Tottenham now? I think it is, particularly on the run of form, the injury list. So, with us beating Spurs at Vicarage Road earlier on this season, courtesy of goals from Troy Deeney and Craig Cathcart, can Watford do it again? I think the odds are slightly in our favour in terms of the circumstances surrounding Spurs at the moment, the lack of form, the injury list, as I mentioned on numerous occasions. But can Watford do it again? I think it was a case at Vicarage Road last year now, in September 2018, that Watford had that 10-minute spell where we smelt blood and just absolutely went for it. I think the turning point in that game was when actually Troy Deeney shoulder barged Davinson Sanchez. The crowd were lifted. The momentum really just swung in our favour, and then we obviously got the 2 goals in quick succession from 2 set pieces. That may be somewhere we need to exploit on Wednesday, is the set pieces, and I think hitting you guys on the break. But you had chances, and on another day it could have easily been a different result. But I think the crowd had a massive factor. I thought Troy Deeney rallying the troops had a massive factor, and just in general, how clinical we were in a 5-10 minute spell, and really smelt blood and went for it. So can Watford do it again? I don't think it will be in the same scenario as the game at Vicarage Road. I believe we can get a point. A win, I think, is optimistic, but I definitely would take a point. Chris has asked me to name the key players that Spurs fans need to look out for Watford's trip to Wembley this coming Wednesday. We'll start from the back. I think the main, the defensive player is Ben Foster. He's been magnificent for us this season. I'd say arguably one of the best keepers so far this season in terms of form. A lot of fans outside of Watford were thinking, why are they signing a 35-year-old goalkeeper? Someone who, you know, came from relegated West Bromwich Albion. But he has been magnificent for us this season. Has saved us so many points. And I don't think we'd be sitting in 7th space now if it wasn't for Ben Foster's heroics. If we look at the midfield, I think the main man in the midfield you need to be looking out for, with Abdoulaye Doucouré being out, he'd probably be one of the main men I would have targeted. But the main man in the middle is Etienne Capoue, a former Spurs player that I know wasn't rated too highly, but he's playing superbly for us this season. Arguably, alongside Foster being our two best players this campaign. He dominates midfield. He's kind of a deep line ball playing midfielder. Something he's kind of converted his role since he was at Spurs. I know he wasn't particularly good at you guys, but he's come to us. Javi Gracia has changed his role, put him in a deeper position, and he's been absolutely fantastic. Breaks up the play, sprays passes, and obviously got that goal in the Carabao Cup, a lucky goal with a huge deflection. But yeah, he's a man you definitely need to be looking out for. In terms of the attacking areas, maybe the one attacking player would probably be Gerald Deulofeu, just for his raw pace in behind. The thing is with Gerald Deulofeu is he makes brilliant runs. Well, he has been recently anyway. But in the final third, he just lacks a little bit of killer edge. It lacks a little bit of, just lacks his finishing, and that's a real shame because he has the ability to score a lot of goals, gets in the positions, gets the chances, but can't quite finish it off. So they're the three players I'd probably look out for. When I see Watford finishing this season, I like to think we've finished definitely in the top 10 with our current position at the moment. We sit 7th in the league. We want to be top of, well, we want to be the best of the rest. We can either achieve Europa League by winning the FA Cup. It's unlikely unless the draw was really, really nice to us. But in terms of the league campaign, I want us to finish in that 7th spot. And with hopefully if the FA Cup either doesn't go to us, it either goes to Chelsea, Manchester United or Manchester City, then we've got, obviously the Europa League spot will be given to us. So that would be a magnificent achievement for the club. So top 10's a priority and hopefully we can get 7th. What have I made of Tottenham's season so far? Really, it's all happened in the last week, hasn't it? Exiting the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, that's obviously a big shame. To go out 2 competitions in the space of a week isn't good at all. I do still fancy you guys to get that Champions League spot. I know Manchester United are hitting a really good bit of form at the moment, but I think Tottenham have enough and have a big enough gap to secure a Champions League spot. I think the one thing that I've heard a lot from the Spurs fan base and mates who are Spurs fans is their frustration at the lack of games they've drawn this season. Now, obviously, 17 wins, 6 losses, no draws. And if you converted those 6 losses into 6 draws, say, if not wins, but just say 6 draws, you'd be sitting 2nd in the league, just 3 points behind Liverpool. It shows if those 6 games had been converted into 6 draws, you guys could be pushing for the title. I think you are out of the title race now, being 9 points off Liverpool, 5 points off Manchester City in 2nd. Yeah, I think the title race is over. But I think you guys have been decent. Maybe the one priority now is to get Champions League football, so then you can invest back into the squad, because I know a lot of people talk about the FA Cup being, obviously from a fan perspective, you want to be winning cups. From a financial perspective, and for the likes of Daniel Levy, they'll be thinking, we want to get that Champions League spot so we can get some more revenue and maybe bolster the Spurs squad coming up to next season. And finally, what is my score prediction for Wednesday's clash at Wembley Stadium? My score prediction is an optimistic 2-2, but if I'm going to be realistic, I think Spurs will probably win 3-1. But I'm feeling quietly confident that we can maybe take something away from Wembley Stadium. Thank you very much to Chris for inviting me on. He does some fantastic Spurs content, so make sure you do subscribe to him down below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, WD18. We'll be doing all the post-match content from a Watford perspective after the game on Wednesday night, so make sure you do subscribe to us. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.